Hello and welcome back, dear listeners, to the world of Sherlock Holmes. Today we bring you the third story from Arthur Conan Doyle's collection, His Last Bow, The Adventure of the Red Circle. This is a gripping tale of secret societies, hidden identities, desperate love, and international intrigue set against the foggy, gaslit streets of London. It's a story that showcases Holmes's brilliant deductive powers, his compassion for the innocent, and the dark underbelly of fear and pursuit that can drive people to extraordinary lengths. Pull up a comfortable chair, dim the lights if you wish, and let us journey together into one of the most atmospheric and emotionally charged adventures of the great detective. I will elaborate every key moment so you can vividly picture the scenes, feel the tension, and understand the human hearts beating at the center of this mystery. It was a cold, windy morning in early spring when the case began. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson were sitting in their famous rooms at 221B, Baker Street. Holmes, ever restless when idle, was pacing the room like a caged tiger. The thick London fog pressed against the windows, giving the city an almost ghostly feel. Watson was reading the newspaper when there came a sharp ring at the bell downstairs. Mrs. Hudson announced a visitor, a heavily veiled woman, clearly in great distress. She entered the room trembling, her hands clasped tightly. Holmes invited her to sit by the fire and speak freely. The woman introduced herself as Mrs. Warren, a landlady from Great Orme Street. For some weeks, she and her husband had let their top-floor rooms to a mysterious couple. The man, who called himself Mr. Fairdale Hobbs, had paid handsomely in advance. He insisted on complete privacy, meals left outside the door, no cleaning of the rooms, and no visitors. Most strangely, he communicated only through notes written in red pencil, slipped under the door. Recently, the situation had grown alarming. Mrs. Warren's husband had been followed by a tall, bearded man with a fierce expression. The lodger had not left his rooms for days, yet strange movements and sounds suggested more than one person might now be inside. Mrs. Warren feared something terrible was happening and begged Holmes to investigate. Holmes's eyes lit up with interest. "This promises to be a most singular case," he remarked. He questioned Mrs. Warren closely about every detail, the handwriting on the notes, the food consumption, any smells or sounds from the room. Watson listened, fascinated as always by his friend's methodical mind. Holmes and Watson decided to visit Great Orme Street themselves. Disguised subtly, they observed the house. Holmes examined the notes and deduced that the lodger was a woman in disguise, communicating in a foreign language or code. The red pencil and the careful avoidance of personal contact pointed to someone hiding from a deadly pursuer. As the investigation deepened, Holmes placed an advertisement in the newspaper seeking information about Mr. Fairdale Hobbs. The response came swiftly and dramatically. A young Italian woman, Miss Emilia Lucca, arrived at Baker Street in a state of extreme terror. She revealed the true and tragic story behind the Red Circle. Let me elaborate this heart-wrenching backstory for you, listeners, so you can fully feel the human drama. Emilia was the beautiful daughter of a proud but poor family in Naples, Italy. She fell deeply in love with Gennaro Lucca, a brave and honorable young man who worked as a carriage driver. They married against her father's wishes and lived happily for a time. But Gennaro had joined a secret society in his youth, the Red Circle, a powerful and ruthless organization similar to the mafia, involved in crime and political intrigue. Once you joined the Red Circle, there was no escape. The society demanded absolute loyalty, and betrayal meant death. When Gennaro tried to break free and start a new, honest life with Emilia in America, the Red Circle hunted them relentlessly. They fled across the Atlantic and eventually reached London, hoping to lose themselves in the vast metropolis. Gennaro found honest work, but the shadow of the society followed. A dangerous agent known as Gorgiano, a brutal killer with a black beard and terrifying reputation, was sent to track them down. In desperation, the Luccas hid in Mrs. Warren's top-floor rooms. Gennaro disguised himself and left his wife there while he tried to gather information and plan their next move. The red pencil notes were their only safe way to communicate without risking exposure. Emilia, terrified for her husband's life, had stopped eating properly and lived in constant fear. Holmes realized the gravity of the situation. This was no ordinary domestic mystery. It was a matter of life and death involving a ruthless international criminal organization. He assured Emilia that he would do everything possible to protect her and Gennaro. That very night, the case reached its thrilling climax. Holmes, Watson, Inspector Gregson of Scotland Yard, and a group of police officers surrounded the house in Great Orme Street. They had received word that Gorgiano had located the hiding place and was preparing to strike. As they approached stealthily, They heard a desperate struggle upstairs, furniture crashing, a woman's scream, and the roar of a furious man. Holmes and the others burst into the room. There they found a horrifying scene. The giant, black-bearded Gorgiano lay dead on the floor, stabbed through the heart. Standing over him, bloodied but triumphant, was Gennaro Luca, the brave husband who had finally confronted his hunter. Emilia clung to her husband, sobbing with relief and terror. In the dramatic confrontation that followed, Gennaro explained everything. Gorgiano had broken into the rooms intending to murder them both. In a fierce hand-to-hand struggle, Gennaro had managed to turn the tables and kill the assassin in self-defense. The Red Circle's long arm had finally been severed, at least for this couple. Holmes, with his characteristic respect for justice tempered by mercy, advised Inspector Gregson on how to handle the matter. The killing was clearly self-defense, and Gennaro and Emilia had suffered enough. With the dangerous Gorgiano dead, the immediate threat was eliminated. Holmes used his influence quietly to ensure the couple could start their lives anew without further persecution. Back in Baker Street the next morning, Holmes and Watson sat by the fire smoking their pipes and reviewing the case. Holmes praised the courage of Gennaro Luca, a man who had risked everything for love and freedom. Watson was moved by the story of the young couple's devotion and the terror they had endured. "This case," Watson said Holmes, "illustrates how the tentacles of secret societies can stretch across oceans, yet how the power of human love and bravery can ultimately triumph over fear." He noted the clever use of the red circle as both the name of the society and the symbol left in notes, a double meaning that had initially puzzled them. Holmes also explained his deductions in detail for Watson and for us. Dear listeners, the foreign tobacco ash found near the house, the woman's handwriting disguised as a man's, the pattern of food barely touched, suggesting a woman in distress, and the tall, bearded watcher who turned out to be Gorgiano himself. The adventure of the Red Circle is more than a detective story. It is a powerful tale of immigration, the struggle for a better life, the terror of organized crime, and the sanctuary that a great city like London could sometimes provide to those fleeing darkness. It shows us the vulnerable humanity behind the closed doors of even the most ordinary-looking boarding houses. And so concludes The Adventure of the Red Circle, a story of danger, love, and justice served not always by the law, but sometimes by courage in the face of evil. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this detailed narration, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment about which Holmes story you'd like next. Remember, listeners, in the shadows of our lives, there are always those fighting silent battles. And sometimes, the keen eye and logical mind of a Sherlock Holmes can bring light where there was only fear. Until the next adventure, stay safe, stay observant, and keep your doors locked, just in case.